Hello and welcome to Road2Wellbeing, where we help to connect HR professionals and other well-being professionals with others in the field to share knowledge and to expand access to resources. Today, we'll be talking about going from the corporate world to the wellness world, and we're joined by Sinead Urwin. From navigating the high pressure world of investment banking to transforming her own health journey, Sinead Urwin brings a unique blend of corporate insight and functional nutrition expertise to the wellness space. After experiencing firsthand how traditional healthcare often misses the subtle signs of declining health, being told you look fine while struggling with depression and physical symptoms, Sinead discovered the power of addressing root causes through functional nutrition and lifestyle changes. This personal transformation led her from the banking sector to pursuing a master's in holistic wellness and becoming a certified holistic practitioner. Today, she combines her understanding of corporate demands with extensive training from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to help high achieving professionals reclaim their health. Registered with the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, and certified by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. Sinead specializes in unraveling complex health challenges, including chronic inflammation, digestive disorders, hormonal imbalances, autoimmune conditions, and stress related illness. Her approach is uniquely suited to busy professionals, practical, flexible, and free of guilt or restriction. Drawing from both her corporate background and health expertise, she creates sustainable solutions that work with the constraints of demanding careers while delivering lasting results. Her mission is to ensure that no one feels alone or dismissed in their health struggles as she once did. Thank you for joining us today, Sinead.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course, of course. So I love how in your story you mentioned that you kind of had your own experiences with health professionals and that led you to becoming one yourself. So why don't
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit more about your shift from the corporate world to the wellness world?
Yeah. So I worked in the banking sector in corporate investment banking for many years in Amsterdam and in London. And even though I love that world, it came with its stressors and therefore subsequent health challenges. But my health journey didn't start there. Growing up in Ireland, I suffered from chronic depression as a teenager and even into my early 20s. And that then subsequently led to other issues like body dysmorphia, which then led to eating disorders, which then led to autoimmune diseases and digestive disorders. And so I started reading more about like how to heal myself because I never felt listened to by the doctors or in fact as I say in my bio, there was one particular time I remember I'm walking into a doctor's office and she said basically you look absolutely fine, what could be possibly wrong with you? And inside I was just crying like with depression and then all the other issues that came with that. So I started um, researching on my own, and through trial and error, I figured out what my body and my mind needed to be healthy and to live symptom free. And to this day, I'm symptom free. And so the more I delved into it, the more I realized how powerful the body is in healing and how powerful nutrition and lifestyle habits are in giving the body what it needs to heal. So I stopped my investment banking career and went back to do my master's in holistic wellness so that I could then share the knowledge and help people heal the way I had. Then I moved to Utah 10 years ago and set up my practice. So now here I am.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I can definitely resonate with that. I remember being in my early 20s and started having interactions with like digestive issues and going to a bunch of doctors and them all telling me like you are young, you look fine, go about it. And I'm like I'm afraid to eat at this point because I don't know what's going to happen. So, I love that you took like your struggle and made it your impetus to help others and to change moving forward and help make an impact in lives. But sometimes making that transition can be a little challenging. You went from something kind of secure and corporate to diving into the world on your own. What are some challenges you faced and how did you
Oh,
overcome them?
yeah, that's interesting. It was definitely a leap of faith. I also wanted to take the time back then to have my children and raise them myself. So it was, that both paired perfectly together. I have to say though, it at the beginning it was challenging to build a reputation, especially here in Utah, where the focus is more on being a registered dietitian rather than a holistic health practitioner. So I'm like I call myself a functional nutritionist. So that means that I look at the root causes of our symptoms, physical, mental, emotional, and figure out what we need to change in terms of not only nutrition, like an RD would do, but I think of the body as a lot more complicated than just the food we eat. We also need to look at how we're moving our bodies, like our exercise routines, sleep and our quality of sleep, stress and how we're managing it, toxin exposure, joy and fulfillment in life, all of these kind of things. They're all super important. Like I always think, if we can eat all the kale and salmon salads in the world, but if we're not sleeping properly, we're not moving the body, and we're not managing stress, nothing's going to get better. In fact, it's going to get worse, right? So that was a big challenge. But then over time, through building up a reputation, through seeing more clients, doing workshops, podcasts like this, presentations, liaising with functional medicine doctors, I've managed to build a reputation where now, it's more consistent, let's say, than 10 years ago, let's say. But the more I see clients, the more I learn myself, and I'm still trying out new things on myself. Like I never really recommend anything without trying it on myself. So I'm my biggest guinea pig. But because I want to lead by example. I want to be a role model. I don't want somebody, I wouldn't go to ask someone for advice, if I don't respect them or look up to them, or if I don't want to learn from them, right? So I want to be that person for my clients, and I think I've built that relationship with my clients, and because there's an element of vulnerability in all this too, like a pretty large element of vulnerability, because a symptom might seem, oh, you just have that, but why is it? And peeling back the layers of the onion and really figure out, okay, this goes much deeper. Like there's something deeper going on here. So to build that element of trust with my clients is key.
I love that. And I love a lot of things you mentioned actually. So I'm
Thank
going to
you.
try and touch on all of
Yeah,
them
go.
really quickly.
Sure.
The first thing I want to touch on is speaking about vulnerability in this
Mm,
area. And I think that very often when we think about wellness or holistic health and things of that sort, we don't consider the vulnerability aspect of it. It's kind of like people should just walk in and, get the help needed.
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's that hint of shame sometimes that people might carry around what they're experiencing. And sometimes there might be well, I know I'm doing this thing, but like I don't want to share this.
yeah.
Um, and then I also love how you mentioned that holistic aspect that you look at, which I feel can sometimes be missing in what we think of as modern medicine. It can be a very reductionist type of viewpoint where it's like your arm hurts, so I'm only going to look at your arm.
Yeah.
Where taking that holistic viewpoint is like, okay, your arm hurts, but what did you do yesterday and what's going on with the blood flow? Is it the muscles? Is it because you're having an allergic reaction to something? And I think what we are starting to see now is that branch more into like lifestyle medicine and those
Yeah,
different dimensions of wellness. I know at Wellness 360, we try to include all of that into like our programs and kind of like make sure we're touching on like the social, the occupational, the safety, things of that sort, because there's so many different health issues that are tied to so many different areas that we
hmm
don't even think about sometimes and how they're
right.
intertwined. So, what are some like common health issues that you've kind of seen on your journey thus far?
Okay, you mean amongst my client base?
Yeah, amongst your client base, sorry.
No, but that's a really interesting question. Like, I love your analogy about the arms. So what I see a lot is the gut, like issues with the gut, issues with the brain. So, doctors treat them like they're completely separate parts, unrelated, which is, you know, futile, because guess what? There's such an intricate connection between the gut and the brain. So if somebody comes to me with anxiety and depression, or anxiety or depression, one of the first places I'll start with is the gut. How healthy is your gut? Are you having daily bowel movements? Do you have nausea, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, all of these things? Talk about being vulnerable. We talk a lot about bathroom habits in my sessions with clients, because it's key, right? And also, if there are gut issues, like, let's look at hormones. There's probably going to be hormonal issues too, because if the gut's not functioning properly, our endocrine receptor sites aren't metabolizing hormones properly, and guess what? We're already aging, so hormones are already falling, especially like age 35 plus. So if our gut's not functioning properly and our detoxification organs aren't functioning properly, we're not metabolizing the fewer hormones we are producing properly. So now we've got all of these things. So yes, you're right. It's all so connected, so connected. So I'm like, a lot of my clients are, middle-aged women. So that comes with hormonal issues. We also then have to look at gut issues, obviously, to help the hormonal issues. A lot of stress, right? Because we are like putting out fires from when we wake up in the morning to when we go to bed. Our DNA wasn't built to handle that properly. So now we're constantly stressed, and we have that constant kind of level of inflammation, because our bodies are, shooting out cortisol all day long, which is not supposed to do, to that extent. So now we have like a breeding ground for illness and disease, because we've got this underlying inflammation. So now we've got all sorts of things. So we've got to look at, okay, where are the stressors? Okay, what's causing you the stress? Not that we can necessarily take away the stress. We still got to work, and we've got families, and we've got, whatever. But we can find ways to mitigate the physical damage that the stress is doing. So we got to look at those kind of things. Cravings. Why are we craving? Why are we sitting down watching Netflix every evening with a box of Oreos, right? Why? What are we missing? Are we unfulfilled somewhere? Are we stressed? Do we have a bacterial imbalance in our gut, in our microbiome or something, that's screaming for sugar? Are we tired and our bodies remember that we can look to sugar for energy? Like, what is it? We've got to really nail down the root causes to be able to fix it, right? Why are we gaining weight? Okay, I have so many middle-aged women who I help with weight loss. I mean, not only, I don't like to focus on weight loss, there's always other symptoms. There's a reason why we're hanging on to weight. But is it a hormonal situation? Is it high toxic load that the body can't get rid of? Do we have a thyroid issue? Is it stress? Are we not sleeping? Are we just not moving the body properly? Or are we just eating the wrong foods? Like, which is it, or which combination thereof is it? So all sorts of things like that.
I love that. I love that you have mentioned, like, the gut brain connection. My master's is in integrative medicine, and that
Oh,
was one of the things that I found so interesting, because it's not talked about at all. However, it causes such a huge impact on our lives.
yeah,
And most of us walk around speaking about the symptoms without even realizing it. Like, like, yeah, I slept so long last night. Like, I slept for 8 hours, but I'm still so tired.
yeah,
Or I just can't seem to focus throughout the day. And we kind of forget that connection, or how not even just the gut brain connection, but as you also mentioned, the hormones and things of that sort. There's so many different aspects.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
right? But just take an antidepressant, right, and you'll be fine, right?
Yep. Yep. That's how it's been moving. But I love the way we're starting to see a slow shift
Mm,
towards lifestyle medicine, integrative medicine, community is medicine,
yeah.
movement is medicine, things of that sort.
Hmm.
So I want to kind of move into like a little coachy position for now. So as a coach, or
Uh-huh.
as this practitioner, you encounter somebody who's already feeling burned out, They're trying to deal with their health issues, things with their job. Like it's kind of all over the place. Where
Yeah.
should they start in reclaiming their health and well-being?
So that's the vast majority of my clients. um, so self-care is not selfish. In fact, as we age, self-care becomes number one, because it's like put on your own oxygen mask first. If you don't, nothing's going to get better. We need to make sure that we are the best version of ourselves, to be the best parent for our kids, the best employee, the best community member, and the best for ourselves, more importantly. So I would start with carving out self-care time, creating a consistent, sustainable routine, not trying to change everything all at once, unless that's what you want to do and you feel like you can. But to some people, that can be overwhelming. But just to make some simple, realistic changes. So let's say when you get up in the morning, first thing, drink a glass of water, right, to help detox. Um, Go outside pretty much like as soon as you can after waking, even just for a couple of minutes, just to, feel the air in your skin, feel the warmth. Hopefully now it's warmer. Just to feel more grounded, because that stimulates our natural serotonin production. That's something so simple but so powerful. I would start the morning with, I love to do like a green smoothie, right? And I recommend that to a lot of my clients, because that's the easiest way to pack in a ton of nutrients straight off the bat. Because obviously, a lot of people suffer from fatigue as the afternoon progresses. But if you have everything you need for straight off the bat, then you're strengthening your adrenals and trying to prevent that slump. Um, uh, Throughout the day, protein with every meal, right? To keep energy stable, carb as low as you can, because you don't want these insulin spikes and dips, because that leads to not only fatigue, but again, like we were saying earlier, inflammation, weight gain, digestive issues, like all of the things. Just like simple things like that, because we can build those into our day without putting anyone else out. Like
Yeah.
we're not taking time from anyone else by, just changing up what we're eating, or stepping outside for a minute in the morning, or drinking a glass of water in the morning. Um, Movement, just incorporate movement wherever we can. If we don't have time to go to the gym or hop on the treadmill or whatever, let's just go for a walk around the block at lunchtime. Let's pick up those 3, 5, or 10 pound hand weights that are gathering dust at home. Do it when we're watching Netflix, right?
Mhm.
Um, just simple things like that, because those the more the more of those little simple steps we incorporate, the better we're going to feel, and the more we're going to want to feel. And then the happier we are. That anxiety, brain fog, depression that starts kicking in when our hormones start to tank, okay, that's going to be lifted. We'll start to think more clearly. We'll get more done because we're going to be more efficient,
Yeah.
right? Because we're going to be happier, right? All of those things. Simple changes go a long way.
I love the highlighting the simple changes. I found that especially when I was doing a lot of my work as like a health coach, that every time users would or participants would come to me, they mention like, hey, I don't know how I'm supposed to do all of this. Like how am I? And it's like, Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't
No,
have to go from one way to another tomorrow.
no,
It's those small incremental changes.
yeah,
And I also love that you highlighted self-care being number one. I think that a lot of times when we shift into this space of like our career zone of our lifetime, career starts to take number one. Work slowly moves up to number one because we kind of prioritize what we need it. Capitalism rules. So we
yeah,
start to put that as number one and lose ourselves sometimes in the
mhm,
process. So I love that reminder to even myself that, self care is number one. And then I love those small suggestions you provided, the green smoothie, the morning routine, the small opportunities for movement. Everything doesn't have to be 2 hours pumping iron in the
no,
gym.
no,
Like,
no, no. And the thing is, yeah, it's great if we can get to the gym in the morning, but then if we sit, like if we're sedentary for the rest of the day, we're kind of undoing that gym workout. So if we can, I don't know, like if we have an admin job, if we can make a point of just standing up and walking around when we're on the phone, or if we can get one of those walking desks, or just even standing like when we're on our laptops, whatever, it makes such a difference.
I love that. So you started naming a few different things, but for my next question is, how can workplaces start to take more responsibility for employee wellness?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So, uh, a lot of corporations will have sort of pretty generic kind of health, I don't know, incentives, like a steps challenge, or stopping smoking, or stopping soda, or things like that. But it's not, none of them are really looking at like the root causes of what's going on. So I think like some of the things that would be a lot more effective would be looking at maybe specific incentives for different age categories. Because if
Ooh.
you, right, because if you think about it, priorities or health concerns that like a 20, 30-year-old might have, or even life concerns, are very different to those of like a middle-aged person, very different to those of like someone 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. I mean, 50s middle-aged, right? But you know what I mean?
I get
So,
what you mean.
right? So those kind of things. Is it they need more flexibility in terms of work because of family responsibilities, family challenges, whatever? Is there, let's say, I don't know, an autoimmune condition, or a hormonal condition like perimenopause, menopause, where maybe on some days working from home would make them a lot more efficient because they're in a more comfortable environment, whatever. um,
Mhm.
um, is it maybe that we need more kind of like uh, like communities, like groups that we can organize, where the age of the people in the groups is diverse, so that they can all like help each other with all these different things.
Mhm.
Um, is it like, I don't know, the food in the canteen, right? We've got to look at different dietary requirements. We've got to look at cultural and religious requirements, like all of these kind of things. Like the standing desks, or those little walking desk things that you can get for under your desk, like those kind of things, or like the exercise balls to sit on, or that kind of thing, where you're engaging your core, and so you are working your body.
Mhm.
Like those kind of things,
I love that.
yeah,
Like
maybe,
those environmental changes.
yeah, like movement breaks, or like, rather than, oh, you have to be sitting at your desk for 8 or 9 hours, yes, you can stand up and walk around when you're on the phone, or yes, you can go and have walking meetings, like they don't have to be like in a boardroom, um
Mhm.
or like power breaks where you can go and just have a walk around the block, or do some stretching or rehab, or whatever it is. Like all little things like that are going to make a big difference. So like incorporating all the lifestyle factors that encompass our health, the movement and exercise
Mhm.
part, the nutrition part, the community part, um, the like sort of symptom specific part, like menopause, perimenopause, autoimmune, uh, pain, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I love that you kind of started by mentioning like getting to know your employee base and
Yeah.
having things specific for your employee base. I think a lot of the time what we see, especially what I see with Wellness 360, sometimes clients will just kind of want something in general for their employees. And then
Yeah.
as we're working with them, then we're like, let's start to survey your employees to learn exactly what they're looking for. Let's look at what they're interacting with to learn what they're interested in. So I
Yeah.
think it's like a nice tie between the two of the like setting up the environmental things that are
Hmm.
general, but also having enough specificity to know what'll work for your base.
Exactly, exactly. And also having resources for people, like if they do have specific issues, like if you as an employer can help them get the help that they need to feel better, they're going to be so much more productive when they feel better, and they're going to really appreciate you for doing that as an employer. So that helps
Yeah.
everything. It helps employee retention, it helps productivity, it helps reduce absenteeism and presenteeism, like all of these things. And it's a happier employee is a happier company, right? So
Right.
bottom
Happier
line,
bottom line.
speaking of capitalism, yeah.
I love that we said that at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on the last few minutes. So for my last question, if you could give one piece of advice to corporate professionals who are struggling with work-related health issues or just health issues in general while still trying to manage their work life, what advice would you give?
Come speak to me. I would
Yeah.
try to, I mean, the theme of all of this has been root cause analysis, right? Um, we can try to second guess what's wrong with us, but honestly, if we just sit down and think, okay, what are my specific symptoms? What am I facing? Is it digestive issues that are slowing me down? Am I just fatigued? Is it because I'm not sleeping? Is it my pain that's debilitating? Is it my depression? What is it? And then look at kind of your food intake, your lifestyle factors, like we talked about, sleep, stress, exercise, and try to join the dots. Try and try to start making some of those small changes that we mentioned earlier, and start there, um, and then reach out if you need help.
I love that. Yes, you don't have to go through it alone. There are
Oh,
professionals like
yeah,
Sinead who can
yeah,
support you with figuring out what those next steps are.
yeah, exactly.
And with that, I will end our show. So, Sinead, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all for watching. And join us on our next episode of Road to Wellbeing.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.